All right, bang. Today is Thursday. It is August 24th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Today I'm joined in studio by Mr. Skin, Jim McBride, really a legend of the game. And I don't know how I did not know you were based out of Chicago.
Yeah, from the start I've been in Chicago. I grew up in Oak Park River Forest, was living in the city working at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange when I had this crazy idea in the 90s to start Mr. Skin. And yeah, I'm seriously just a Chicago guy and a big sports fan in Chicago. And all this Mr. Skin celebrity that's happened, a lot of people think I live in New York or California because, you know, I've done so much media for the website, but always been in Chicago, and it's been a riot. It really has. I mean, what a job, you know?
And well, explain for people who don't know what MrSkin.com is.
Well, MrSkin.com is a database. I launched it on August 10th of 99. So we're like we just had our 24th anniversary of the website, which
Incredible.
is ridiculous. And I just started, really what the thing's about is it's a database where you can find out if any actress in the history of movies or television has ever done a nude scene. And when I started this, I launched it on August 10th of 99 with 1,000 actresses. And now we have something like almost 40,000 actresses, you know, because so many people have come along that have done nude scenes. Mm-hmm. But when I was working at the Merc, I was a clerk. And I remember thinking, you know, I'm going to start this website, there's a backstory to it, but I remember thinking, you know, if I could just make a couple extra bucks in advertising, what a great side job that'll be. And here we are 24 years later. I have over 40 employees, and our offices are in Chicago. And though not many people still come to the office, but it's, I think more than anything, it's been so much fun. And I was going nowhere fast, you know, in my 30s, working as a clerk at the Mercantile Exchange, and just took this chance. And you know, I really am lucky. I truly am.
Hey, let's take a quick break here because I want to talk about my friends at ChevyDriveChicago.com. And they have breaking news that we've been telling you about for the past month because it's such big news. You people just need to hear it again and again. And I don't say that sarcastically. I mean it sincerely, because Bears fans, the Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana Chevy dealers, are proud to announce that they are the new official partner of the Chicago Bears, which is a big deal. That means Silverado and tailgates are going to be partners like peanut butter and jelly, spaghetti and meatballs, lamb and tuna fish, whatever you say. Bears, Chicagoland Chevy, Silverados, tailgate trucks in the tailgates. We also have in the parking lots, We also have very cool stuff with the Bears and Chevy around the corner that we're going to let you know about. A little teaser there. But regardless, what I want from you today is to head to ChevyDriveChicago.com to shop and find your local Chevy dealer today. It's that simple. Go get priced out for a brand new Silverado. Maybe a Colorado is in your interest. Maybe you want a Malibu. Maybe you want a Blazer. Maybe you want a Trax. Maybe you want an Equinox. It doesn't matter. It's all there for you at ChevyDriveChicago.com. Go grab it. Go root for the Bears. Drive a Chevy. It's that easy. All right, let's head back to the show. Damn. Okay, so what the inception, though? Like, I just envision you being with your buddy in some, old town apartment and just oh, man, has that girl ever been naked? Look it up.
Well, I can tell you where it started, but the backstory is when I was a kid, I just was a kid in the 70s, and it's hard for younger guys to understand. I had ABC, NBC, and CBS. That was it. Playboys. We didn't have cable. I didn't have a phone. We didn't have internet. And all of a sudden, one day in the fall of 1980, living in Oak Park River Forest, I got cable television. And it was this chain of events of, you got to be kidding me, because at the exact same time, I had just got a Betamax. And all of a sudden, in my house, is HBO, Cinemax, Showtime. I'm getting drive-in movies, Italian sex comedies, blaxploitation films, all these R-rated movies, and I was just in heaven. You know, I was like a senior in high school at the time. I would just tape every movie I could, and luckily I was smart enough to get a second Betamax, and I would edit the nude scenes onto kind of best of hockey compilation tapes. And now, with no plan to make a career out of that, just I was a fan of it. That was my thing, and throughout the the 80s and 90s, I was the fun guy at parties or weddings where you could just say like, yeah, has this actress ever been naked? I knew, has Helen Hunt ever been naked? And I'd say, yeah, the Water Dance, 1992, just before Mad About You. And people would freak out because they didn't have anywhere to go to look this stuff up,
Yeah.
And I just started, what happened was, and Chicago, so in the mid or late 90s, when I was working at the Merc, a buddy of mine said, hey, come to Charlie's Ale House, because I lived across the street. He said it was like a Tuesday, and it was like at Webster and Magnolia, and I lived 2 doors down. I said, sure, whatever. I had to be up early in the morning, but I went there, and it was like a Tuesday night, and these guys, my friends, were there, and they're quizzing me on actresses again, like they always do when they get drunk. And standing next to me is Harry Tynowitz, who, Mac Yurko and Harry, but I didn't know him at the time, and he was just having a drink. And he's like, holy shit, you know this stuff off the top of your head. You got to come on my radio show. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And I kind of blew it off, and he was persistent, and he asked me, he finally convinced me to do it, and I went in studio. One day I left the Merc. They were doing, Harry and Spike were doing middays at the time. And I went over to Hancock to do their show thinking, I'll do this for 15 minutes, then I'm done. And I went down there, and they had callers ask me questions. It was a lot of fun. And I had a riot. It was great. And as I was leaving, the producer came up to me and said, listen, we had so many people wanting to ask more questions. Would you do this again? And I remember thinking to myself, I really have something here. I don't know what it is, but I have something here. And that's kind of the origin of the whole Mr. Skin thing.
Wow. Okay. So then
by the way, I should mention, before I even went on, I said, I don't want to use my real name, Harry. So let's come up with a moniker, because I knew a little about radio from Doll and all those other things. And he said, how about Mr. Naked? And I said, it seems kind of creepy. And then he goes, well, how about Mr. Skin? And it was the second one, and that was it.
That was it. Yeah. So then when did you start bringing out Jim? Like, you're just like, I'm pretty ingrained to this now.
No, I always go on the radio as Mr. Skin,
Okay.
always have. And that makes sense. I was always promoting. But for the first couple of years, I was not looking for a financial benefit from this. I was just doing it to kind of, show off, have fun, get to be on the radio. And I didn't have a book to promote. I didn't have a website. I didn't, this was 98 when I started to do this in Chicago radio. And then all of a sudden, Steve Dahl heard me on Harry's show, and he had me on. And once he did, their producer knew a producer in Seattle, the Bob Rivers Show. And then there was a show in Boston called Maddie in the Morning. Then they started having me on. And then it kind of ballooned from there. But again, I was doing all these shows without, just to do
anywhere to direct people to. Like, you would just go on there.
No, I wasn't doing it to make money. I was doing it for the fun of it. And then finally, I was umpiring one of Steve Dahl's celebrity softball games. I was the umpire as Mr. Skin.
Mr. Skin.
And they had fans come to the softball game. And at the end of it, this guy came up to me and said, hey, listen, I hear you on the radio all the time. I think what you do would make a great website. And I looked at him and I go, what's a website? I had no idea. It was 98. I didn't know. And he said, well, if you could raise a little money, I could help you build it. And I ended up talking to my brother-in-law, who was in real estate and trader at the Merc, who's a friend of mine. And we raised, it wasn't even a lot, like $70,000. And I lived off it for a year and paid some tech people and launched the website on August 10th of 99.
Okay, so August 10th of 99, what is the instant hit? Like, who's the most searched person on that website right when it launches?
Well, Angelina Jolie was super popular because, she had just done a movie. She had done a few movies, but then that Gia was out. Remember Gia? Does that ring a bell?
Gia. No, I think those days, a Tomb Raider Angelina
Yeah,
Jolie.
right.
Yeah,
whatever. But she was really popular. You know who else was super popular when I launched, and even to this day is still in our top 50 most searched, is Alyssa Milano.
Oh, really?
So she's on Who's the Boss, and all of a sudden she grows up, disappears for about a few years, gets breast implants, and then all of a sudden is on like is doing this movie called Embrace of the Vampire, which aired on cable TV all throughout the 90s. And she did all these nude scenes, and it freaked people out because, you know, it's like when you see someone who was a child star and then they grow up and then you're like, holy crap, they're doing nude scenes. You know, people, you're like a fan of them. And yeah, that was a really popular one too. But I also, another thing I remember from the very early days is we flipped the switch. It was like 4:45 p.m. Central Standard Time on August 10th of 1999. Finally flipped the switch after all my work for a year, my little studio apartment, trying to get ready for this website, and turned it on. It's working. Within 5 minutes, we had our first join. Was some guy from Cincinnati that subscribed to the website, which was really cool. But in the first week, I got an email from this other guy who came to the website, and he said, you know, what I really love about MrSkin.com is it doesn't make you feel sleazy. And that was always kind of the thing I wanted to do. Was I didn't want it to be it's an R-rated site, you know, and I didn't want it to have that porn feel. I wanted it to, you know, make it feel like kind of like retro, and even the face of Mr. Skin, which they talk about in the movie Knocked Up, for instance, was done to be that like everyman from the 50s in those you know, in those advertisements where you'd see like a guy, a dad raking the leaves with the smiley face. Like that's what I based the Mr. Skin head logo on. And that made me feel really good that was what I was trying to get across, as like a place where it was, you could see nude scenes and learn about nude scenes, but also it'd be funny and punny and all that other stuff.
Yeah, well, because it's out there, right? They agreed to this. This was something where you know that they were in on it, you know, so it's a little different.
Well, yeah, and the other decision I made early on was I was never gonna like post stolen pictures. Well, you know, when the cell phone stolen picture thing happened, we never touched that. And in the very beginning of the website, one of the things I just said no on was like paparazzi pictures where the actress didn't know it was happening. Or any paparazzi pictures
like
in
a
general.
nip slip or something.
Well, no, nip slip if you're in a movie or television, that's fair game as far as what, you know, we do. But like when Jennifer Aniston was sunbathing in her backyard and somebody climbed a tree and got a picture of her, like that's not for us. Like it has to be something an actress willingly appeared in. Yeah. To qualify for MrSkin.com.
Which is a pretty good rule of thumb.
Well, listen, we've been in business 24 years, and there's a reason we've been in business 24 years. And the other thing I think, too, is we like, you know, we celebrate nudity in film. Like, I know, like, Kathy Bates was nude in About Schmidt. Like, guys joke around about that. But if you went to our website, you'd think we were so happy that Kathy Bates did a website, which is true. Like, because I always had that thing where, like, why would I say, you know, this is a shitty website, she looks horrible? Like, why would I say that when there's probably some guy out there that's so happy that Kathy Bates did a nude scene? Why would rain on his parade? You know?
Absolutely.
Right. And throughout our whole history and to this day, everything is celebrated. Like, we're just ecstatic. If it's a nip slip or a great full frontal scene, we're very happy about it.
You're in on it.
Yeah.
So how do you do this with the studios not being down your neck?
Well, many studios through the years had sent us screeners and things. And keep in mind, we review the movie for the nudity. It's like when think about like Siskel and Ebert when they used to, they'd show clips of the movie. Why were they able to show clips of the movie? Because they were reviewing it. And before I launched the website, I met with an IP attorney here in Chicago, and I said, listen, I raised this money. I quit my job at the Merck. I mean, I don't want this thing to get shut down in 3 months. How do I do this so that it's legal? She said, you have to rate, review, give news, stories. The pictures and clips have to support your editorial content. And we've been really careful about that. And, like I said, we've been doing it for 24 years. So obviously we're doing something right.
Gotcha. So there's more to it that makes it official.
Well, listen, you could go, there's plenty of places on the internet that will just post nude pictures with no context, no review. They just do it, and that's illegal. You're not allowed to do it that way, but, we chose to do it, quote, legally.
Yeah.
And it's just the advice I got early on.
And it's worked ever since. Has anyone ever tried to sue you? Is there a star that took exception with your website?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, in the history, yes, there's been no celebrities ever sued us, but yes, have people contacted us to, hey, could you take this down and stuff? But I'll tell you what, it's funny. So think about, we chronicle every nude scene in the history of movies and television. That's our goal of the website. But it's not like the Angelina Jolies and the Jennifer Anistons that hit you up. It's the woman who maybe was a B movie actress in the '90s that's now a school teacher, and they'll hit you up, and I'm like, yes, I will take that down, no problem, because they did this. They were nobody. They happened to be nude in some like drive-in movie in the '80s or whatever, and now they're a religious person or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So in those cases, I always am like, yeah, of course, not a problem. But it's really not. I mean, think about it. Like Angelina Jolie nude is. I'm not the only place
People
it's
could
at.
go for
Right.
that.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. So when we're talking most iconic scene of all time.
Well, I get asked a lot, what's the greatest nude scene of all time? And I haven't changed since I launched. To this day, it's Phoebe Cates in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And I mean, it's almost the perfect nude scene from people, maybe the younger guys don't understand this, but in my younger guy day, Phoebe Cates was like a legend. She was on the cover of Teen Beat magazine. She was in all the cool movies. And Fast Times at Ridgemont High is a hilarious movie. We all could quote lines from it. The music, the cars moving in stereo. If you're ever driving in the car and you hear moving in stereo, what do you think about? You think about Phoebe Cates and Fast Times. And just how gorgeous she was in the scene, the slow motion, the water, Judge Reinhold working the gavel, the whole thing. And to me, it's the perfect nude scene. Now, have there been other great ones since then? Yes. I mean...
Because I would have probably guessed Basic Instinct.
Well, I'll tell you what, Basic Instinct is the most famous nude scene of all time, because you got to remember that was a huge blockbuster movie. When I used to go to the video store in the 90s and rent Basic Instinct, and you'd get to that scene, it would be all squiggly because all the dudes were pausing it and, enjoying the scene. But everyone, it's been parodied. It's just, you name every, I don't care what your age is, that scene of Basic Instinct. So to me, that's the most famous nude scene. I had it probably in my top 5, for sure. But behind Phoebe Cates, things shift. But Phoebe Cates always stays number one.
I like that. Yeah. That's a great number one. So all right, those two. Off your top of your head, can you do the rest? I got to assume. Just based on
who do you think? Because I'd be interested what you think.
So I would say, based on how big the movie was, I would say that Kate Winslet in Titanic has got to be up there, maybe.
That's in competition for most notorious or known nude scene because of a movie that made over $1 billion and then was been on videos forever. So I don't consider that a top 5 or so, but it's definitely in the most famous, top 5 most famous. How about that? Like a newer one that jumped to the head of the class for me was Alexander Daddario in True Detective.
Oh, dude. That's a great one.
I'm preaching to the choir.
That's a great one. Yeah, that's just a classic one.
Because that's another one I get. I've been doing this 24 longer, but it's like people ask me, like, when you see a nude scene, does it now, like a great nude scene, do you get the same thrill out of it? And Alexandra Daddario was one I remember I was watching. I like those True Detective shows on HBO, and I was watching it with my wife. I remember that, and it was January when it aired. It was like, I can't remember. It was like 2016 or something, 17. And I'm watching with my wife, and I turn to her, I go, that's the number 1 nude scene of the year. And it was January.
Really?
That was a big call.
You knew that you called your shot.
Well, there's a new movie comedy out with Jennifer Lawrence called No Hard Feelings.
Saw it in theaters, yeah.
How about that?
Did not see it coming. Did not see it coming.
Nobody did. And that will be the number 1 nude scene of 2023.
It has to be. It's awesome. Yeah. Credit to her.
She's an A-list actress.
Yes. Does not need to do that at all.
Full nudity, wrestling, funny scene, goes on forever. I mean, it's like, again, that's a legend. That'll go down in the Hall of Fame of nude scenes.
Yeah, it kind of changed my whole perspective on her too. Like before, I thought,
agree.
Yeah, before I thought she was like played the quirky girl to like be like whatever. Now I'm like, oh, she's just kind of cool. Like she just like doesn't give a fuck. She just seems like a cool chick.
And I read an article about her doing that scene, and she said, "Why not? It was funny. I enjoyed it, and that's how it should be." I hate hearing when actresses like after they do a nude scene regret it. Like it's that attitude that it's the best way to fend off any bullshit from people. You know, is just to say, "Hey, I had a riot. So what? I was naked. Big deal." I mean. Nudity's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. You know?
Sure. And now I got to assume that the Sydney Sweeney business is booming.
Yes, she is. She's one of the most searched actresses at our website since that Euphoria came out, and she did a movie called The Voyeurs, which is actually was. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. I've seen. Don't worry.
You're actually
I'm on top of that.
He's actually very schooled in nudity. But she's definitely one of our more searched actresses. And another thing that, and I always wonder, because you're a lot younger than me and you're from this generation, but people ask me, like, is there more nudity now or less nudity? Like, what is going on? And we actually know the answer to that, because because you know how there's just so many platforms now. There's like all these streaming, all these shows. It just, in 2000 to 2010, yes, there was HBO and, you know, Sex and the City, Sopranos, you know, these things, but now it's like unbelievable. But I really think it peaked in about 2017, because we looked at every sex scene and every nude scene from 2017 to 2022. And in sex scenes, there were, from the peak of 2017, there's been like 40% drop. From nude scenes, it's a 60% drop. Now, you might say, well, how could that be? And the answer is, you got to put it in perspective. There's still way more nudity than there was in 2005 or 2010. I'm just talking in the world of tons of different platforms, Peacock Network and BET Plus and all these different places. There's never been more nudity, except in this, since then, it's been falling off. But there's reasons for that. I think COVID definitely had something to do with it. People weren't willing to have sex, right? Yeah. During COVID. They couldn't film as much. I think the Me Too movement had a little to do with it, and like, you know, let's be careful and all that, I think. But I think the biggest reason, I'd love if you feel the same way, like, I came from the era where, like, man, if I caught a bra shot in a Sears catalog, I was going crazy. Like, that was a big day. Whereas, like, you guys in your life, like, since you were like in eighth grade, I don't know, you had like internet.
Oh, it's at
porn,
your fingertips for sure.
Like at your fingertips. So yeah, you appreciate a good nude scene, but you don't seek out a good nude scene. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like guys my age would go to Animal House. Yeah, we wanted to laugh, but we also wanted to see all the nudity and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't know if like it's as important to get asses in the seats for younger guys than it was for my generation. I don't know.
That makes sense. I do think it just takes the right person to get it done. Like, I think everyone, whether you saw that movie or not, every guy probably went and looked up the Jennifer Lawrence scene. Right?
Sure.
Like, I think
because right, but you got to understand, like, in my era, we couldn't even like, that would have been we had to go to a theater and like focus on it. We couldn't like rewatch it or you know, it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a different thing. So I just think that guys in my, you know, over 40, 50s guys just have a different perspective on nudity than I think guys in their 20s and 30s.
No, I agree with you, because I do remember, because I'm kind of at the cutoff. I'm 32.
Right.
You know, Nadia, Shannon Elizabeth scene in American Pie when I was 9 years, like that, you know, or whatever. That was it.
99. Yeah, that was 99. Right when I launched the website. Yeah. That was like another big one. A funny story. I was back when Jim Cook from the beer guy from Sam Adams Beer, I had just started my website, and it was 2000 and 2001. I got invited. Jim Cook was having all these morning radio shows out in Boston at his brewery, and then they invited a bunch of, celebrities to go around the tables for the Thursday and Friday that they were doing morning shows to have people to interview live. Mm-hmm. And one of them were they asked me, which I was like, how the fuck are they thinking about me?
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough to be asked because I had been doing so much radio that somehow someone heard about me, and I went out there. Shannon Elizabeth was there because American Pie was out. Mm-hmm. The guys from Jackass, and no one knew who they were. They were just starting. So Johnny Knoxville and Steve-O and those guys were like, I'm all in the green room with all these people. Tara Reid was there. Remember her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I got to do, so I remember I was on the elevator with just me and Shannon Elizabeth, and she was so beautiful. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, Jesus, you're on my website, but I can't say anything. I was too embarrassed to say anything. But anyway, that was a cool story. One of the many cool things I've gotten to do through the years,
For sure. I'm sure there's a ton. And so let's go back to that then. So you would say, we'd say Phoebe Cates and Basic Instinct, obviously, are 2 of the 5.
Yeah, Shannon Elizabeth. I think.
You think she makes the top 5?
Oh, I'm not Shannon Elizabeth. Alexandra Daddario.
Okay, so she's
Shannon Elizabeth is up there, but not my top 5. I gotta say, Halle Berry in Monsters Ball.
Okay,
because she won an Oscar. Scene goes on forever. It's like 3 minutes long, and she wasn't at the time. She hadn't really done much nudity wise, so that would definitely be
in the top 5.
Yeah, definitely. A little throwback. I don't know if you know who this is. Kelly Preston, that was married to John Travolta. She did a movie called Mischief in 1985, which is a personal favorite. That's kind of maybe your guys could do a little research on that one, but you will not be disappointed. So
okay, all right. And then I would assume, when it's all said and done, just because how famous she's getting now, especially with Barbie, but Margot Robbie at some point, Wolf of Wall Street will move up that chart.
And that's one where I like to use this analogy because people ask me also, is nudity bad for your career? Like, is it a bad thing? Because people think of Elizabeth Berkley and Showgirls, like that hurt her career. I don't know if it did, but there could be an argument could be made. But I'd say Margot Robbie. Like, no one knew who Margot Robbie was when you walked in the Wolf of Wall Street in the theater or watched it for the first time. You didn't know who she was.
Zero.
She does that nude scene, and now all you want to do is know more about Margot Robbie, right?
100%.
Yeah. And now her career has just completely taken off, and she's one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. So, moral of the story: nudity, not bad for one's career.
Because what was the second movie she did after that? I'm trying to think, because I know there's definitely a lot of people that probably were like, "Oh, what is she in?" And kind of took more interest in her work after that.
Well,
right?
yeah. It's like now she's like, she's just become huge since then, and she was like I want to say she was a soap opera person in like Australia or something. Like she's not from the United States.
Yeah, she is Australian. Yeah, like the big one she did. Well, she was in The Big Short. She did a cameo, but then she was Harley Quinn.
That was a little later, but yeah,
that was in 2016. But I'm saying, like, Wolf of Wall Street came out in 13. Like, you're like, oh, she's Harley Quinn, perfect. Like,
right, but she wasn't gonna be Harley Quinn prior to Wolf of Wall Street.
No way. And then she was Tanya Harding.
Yeah.
So big shifts. Who is a?
Oh yeah, Tanya Harding. Oh,
yeah, she did. Tanya. Who is a commonly searched one, or who is someone that they wouldn't? Like, people don't realize that she has a nude scene out there, but she does. Who's like a sneaky one?
Well, maybe one like from your era, like Molly Ringwald. Remember her from John Hughes movies? She did a weird movie where she played a stalker of a college baseball player in a movie called Malicious in 1995. And about 15 minutes in, she's riding him topless. And Molly Ringwald, fantastic breasts, like legendary.
Really?
And I think you might have to do a little research on that one. And that would be one, like, from my era, like Marsha from the Brady Bunch. Like, people would freak out that Marsha showed her breasts in a movie called Texas Lightning in 1980. It was a drive-in movie. She smoked, drank, swore, and an hour and 4 minutes in, she flashes breasts, and it's Marsha from the Brady Bunch. You got to be kidding me. So that was one. I think for you older guys like Julie Andrews, Sound of Music, she was nude in a movie called S.O.B. That's one. So there's a lot of those. You'd be surprised. I don't know if you have a favorite from your childhood, but yeah, you'd be surprised how many actresses have done nude scenes, especially if you're foreign.
Yeah. No, you're
Yeah,
right. And then what about who is searched the most that doesn't have one?
It's the same as
Like who's the coveted ones? That's
well,
like,
I think Mila Kunis is one, and people might think, well, I saw her in Friends with Benefits nude, but that was a body double. So she's like an actress that has yet to do an official nude scene that still gets a ton of searches at our website.
really? So how do you navigate that with a body double? Do you like ask the studio, or how do you find that
No,
out?
it's pretty I'll tell you what, body doubles are not hard to tell. It's pretty easy because that's what we do. What's getting hard is CGI. That's another one. When there was a movie called The Change Up in 2011 where Leslie Mann walked into the bedroom with Paul Rudd nude, and it was like, holy jeez, Leslie Mann's body's ridiculous. Well, it was all CGI. It wasn't hers. And you remember in Game of Thrones when Cersei Lannister made the Walk of Shame completely nude? That was CGI. That wasn't her. That was a model named Rebecca Van Cleef, who was 24 years old. Lena Headey, Cersei Lannister, was like in her 40s. I was like, wait, I love the scene, but something's not right.
So how do you tell this stuff?
Well,
Like,
word gets out. It's like people that worked on the movie. Eventually, we get to the bottom of it. No pun intended. It's just one of the things. And I'll tell you another thing that's thrown a loop. Merkins. You know what a merkin is?
That's like a pubic wig, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, with all these shows, these 70s shows, like they just had that Winning Time Laker, and this actress had a nude scene in the first episode, and like this big woolly 70s bush, and it's like an obvious merkin, but those are easier. But like Olivia Wilde was in Vinyl with the show. It was a HBO show about the record industry in the 70s, and she goes full frontal, and it was like, wow, did she grow that, or is that, and it's like and then we learned later on that she had some interviews where she was saying she wore this like almost like a furkini for the scene, and so the merkin has thrown another thing in. That's listen, actresses, if I had to guess, actresses that are popular today probably aren't sporting that down there like what I remember from the 70s and 80s and most of the 90s. It's a different world now.
So Olivia Wilde, that was completely fake.
As American. She admitted it. She said it was fun. It was like you're wearing she called it a furkini.
That's great. And then who is so Mila Kunis, most requested?
Whatever is hot. Like it's funny. Like that Oppenheimer movie came out, and now Florence Pugh's like the third most searched actress at our website. And
oh no shit!
She's like plays his love interest in Oppenheimer, the dude from Peaky Blinders, and it's just like what's popular in pop culture. It becomes popular on our website for that time period. You know what I'm saying? It's just the same as Google.
Yeah.
So.
And you did make like a women pivot at one point, right? Like Mr. Man or something.
Yeah.
What did you do? Yeah. Is that
did you
still
want a
alive?
password to that, or are you good?
I'm all right.
Yeah. No. What happened was it was around 2013 or 14. My team came to me and said, "Listen, we're already going through all these movies, and we see all this male nudity, and we just kind of fast forward through it and get the the female nude scenes. Like, there's going to be interest from." People for a male nudity website. And my reluctance to it was not homophobia. My reluctance was, oh man, I do a lot of promotion for these websites. I don't want to have to see Ed Asner nude and then talk about it. Like I don't want that to be my job. Yeah. So they said, no, we don't even need you to promote it. You don't have to be an expert on it. Like, in female nudity, I consider myself an expert. Male nudity, I'm not. I have nothing against it, but I just I could watch a movie and a guy's nude, and people ask me, and I'll be like, I don't know, was he? I don't know.
Yeah.
But because it doesn't do it for me. But they convinced me to do it, and it was funny. I'm so naive. I thought oh yeah, it'll probably be like 50% women and 50% gay men, and it's done real well through the years. It's been a great moneymaker for us. But the reality is it's like 99% gay men, give or take
Oh,
1 or
really?
2%.
Yeah.
Because
Interesting.
women do not whip out a credit card to pay for nudity.
Mhm.
That's just the way the world works. It's
Yeah.
just they just don't. And
Yeah.
it's guys, whether they're heterosexual or gay, guys will pay to see nudity, but women won't. It's just a
Mhm.
fact.
What's the big one for that? What's that? What's the Phoebe Cates for the Mr. Man?
You know what? I don't know.
It's not Boogie Nights. That was fake, right?
Yeah, that was prosthetic. Yeah, I really trying to. Again, I don't want to. I'm not trying.
Yeah.
I'm not
You're
trying
just-
to. I'm not saying this because
I'm not saying personal favor. I'm saying like, do you know the data if you looked at the site?
Yeah,
Is
we
what I'm
could.
saying.
I could tell you, but I'd have to go to the site and
yeah.
see like who's the most popular actors or actors. I mean, the Brad Pitts and Leo DiCaprio's and all them are definitely going to be on the list.
Yeah.
But I don't know like today who's the hottest dude right now. I really don't. Only because I mean, my website does, but I don't.
It's not what you're into. Yeah.
No, it's I'm not trying to avoid it. If I knew, I'd tell you.
No, yeah. I don't. I mean, I'm not. I'm just curious, playing curious. Is there a but with internet porn, that's been a bad for business though? Obviously, I would assume.
Well, listen, to put it in perspective, remember the Janet Jackson Super Bowl thing with Justin Timberlake? For all the times I've been on the Howard Stern show, like those appearances were my biggest days as far as making money as memberships were the days I'd be on Howard Stern and the replays and all that. But the number one day in the history of MrSkin.com was the morning after the Janet Jackson thing.
Shit.
Because YouTube didn't exist, Facebook didn't exist, Twitter didn't exist. And I had been doing 3 or 4 years of going on all these radio shows as this guy that knew nude scenes. And for some reason, someone sent me that night a photographer that was at the Super Bowl or was like at the foot of the stage and sent me some high-res pictures. And he emailed them to me that night and said, "Hey, look at this." And I'm like, holy shit. So I put them up at the website that night. So then it becomes like this huge news story the next day. Everyone's pissed off and there's all this articles and people are like, geez, where could I go to see that? And it was just like, there was one place. Now today that would be like, that would
everywhere.
That would be, your buddy would have already texted it to you.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it would have been
on Twitter.
It's a different era. So, but I'll say that, listen, there are people that are willing to pay a monthly fee to be a member of MrSkin.com because it's a one-stop shop where all that stuff, it's not just the nudity you could see, but it's our ratings, reviews, commentary, our blogs, all that stuff. There's like, to some people that are really fans of nudity in film, it's worth it. I totally get it that a guy's like, oh, I'd never pay to look at nudes, which is usually dudes under 30. But there's also a lot of people that, you know what, I don't want to look at search 50 different places and I don't know, is this a merkin, is this a body double? I want to know for sure. Like, I pay for the expertise.
Yeah, so you'll let them know everything about that.
100%.
That's good. Damn. Okay, so that was the number one day of Janet Jackson, and then, but Stern, all your media appearances, like that's when you.
Yeah. So like, if
Go
Janet
through the
Jackson was
roof.
number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've been on Stern 23 times in my life, which is so surreal because I'm a huge fan of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you're driving and you're listening to Stern and then it's like you're on 101 or something. All of a sudden they play all of a sudden I'm on Stern. So I forget that I've been on the show. I'm so immersed in just being a fan of the show that, I do my one appearance a year, but I'm very lucky because I become friendly with Gary has a password. All the guys have passwords at the show. And I get along great with them. We bust balls and stuff. And but Howard, I've never, other than in studio, and he's always been super nice to me. And obviously having me on is all I ask. But even if I'm not there, all of a sudden they'll be talking about some, girlfriend experience that Howard likes and they all got to go on Mr. Skin and check it out and talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So like even when I'm not there, I get the publicity of the website. So I haven't been on his show since before COVID, and I'll probably never be on again because the format is just different now, which is fine. I got 20 plus years, and quite frankly, I got kids now. It's probably better that I have daughters in college and high school. It's probably better I stick to hanging with you in Chicago.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And the Knocked Up thing must have been pretty surreal too. Did you know that was coming? I assume.
Yeah. What happened was in the summer of 2006, a lawyer from Universal calls me. I'm like, shit, what is this? And then he's like, hey, the guy that did 40-Year-Old Virgin, that's what he said. The guy that did 40-Year-Old Virgin wants to use your website in his next movie. And I had all these people. He said, let me write up a contract. I just would like your permission to use your website in the movie. And I had all these people say to me, you should charge them. Like, you should, don't let them just use your thing. Charge them. And then I was thinking, I don't want to I know what the value of that will be, and I don't know what to put a number on it. But what if you start saying, hey, give me money, and they're like, screw you, we'll come up with a different way to do it or whatever. So I just totally overruled everyone. I was like, no, I'm just going to have them, put MrSkin.com in this guy's movie because I thought 40-Year-Old Virgin was really funny. So I have no idea how they're going to use it. I didn't give him any. I said any publicity is good publicity. Quite frankly, the way Judd Apatow promoted MrSkin.com, I always joke around the only better promotion in a movie I could think of is Reese's Pieces and E.T. Because it was the guys are all trying to make this great website, and they spend all this time, and then they realize MrSkin.com exists. So stop. Why are you even going forward? So it's funny. People either have heard of me from the Howard Stern show or Knocked Up or Below Deck is another one.
That's another one?
Yeah, I was. That's one. I went on Below Deck.
Oh yeah.
That was crazy. But anyway, those three things are really the biggest reason people would know about Mr. Skin.
And so, all right, so Knocked Up is in the top 10 too. So for
top
big
two.
Top two.
Yeah,
so
for sure. It's because my generation was Animal House, Blues Brothers, Stripes, to guys 20 years younger than me, Knocked Up, Superbad, Pineapple Express. You know what I'm saying? Those are their go-to comedies.
That's ours, for sure. Right.
So it airs on a frickin' loop on I'm laying in bed flipping channels. Oh, Knocked Up's up again. It's on all the time.
And do you still see a spike even? Do you notice that or no?
To be honest, I don't go and look after it anymore. But here's the thing: it's just just to continue. You can't. You don't know if 2 days later a guy saw it and then remembered to come to. You don't really know now. When I used to do Stern and all that, you talk about spikes, and again, there weren't a ton of places to go at the time. The spikes were ridiculous. And I think it's just overall notoriety for your website over the course of years. It adds up. It's cumulative. It's not one giant thing and then everything goes down. It's just, people know the website because it's always on TV.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah, it's crazy.
And so how much is a membership?
It depends when you come, at $9.95 a month. It could be $19.95 a month. We do specials. We do yearlies. We do lifetimes. We do 3 days. You could do it. It varies. It's not crazy. It's expensive at all.
All right, then go check it out, MrSkin.com.
Well, I'll get you a free password.
All right, free password. I'm in. Listen, I never.
Did you want one that also works at Mr. Man, or are you good?
I'm all right. I'll just do Mr. Skin. Thank you for the offer, though. That's very inclusive. Besides having the Porn King on, this was the most I felt like a perv on a podcast. So
wow.
I'm happy it was.
Yeah,
with
I hope
Mr.
it was
Skin.
entertaining because I don't want to perv you out too much.
No, it was good. No, now that I know you're here, we'll have to bring it back and do some regular segments. So.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, this is great.
It's easy for me. I just drive from the suburbs. I was here in no time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to get out there besides the website?
Well, I have a documentary that I'm really proud of that we sold to Hulu, and now you could go to Tubi or wherever, and it's free. It's called Skin: A History of Nudity in the Movies, and it's really good. We interviewed a bunch of celebrities. It's got like over 100 nude scenes, and it starts from Thomas Edison and the invention of movies all the way up to the Me Too movement, and we cover all the greatest nude scenes of all time in the documentary, and it's something I'm really proud of. I produced it and put up the money, but it's doing really well, and like I said, you could go to any of those freemium places and get it.
When did it come out?
2020.
Okay, perfect.
But it's like it did really well at Hulu. I just didn't sell it to them for enough money, and now that it's at all those free platforms,
Yeah.
Now we're making money because it's like every time it's like, if you get a lot of YouTube views, you get ad revenue. It's the same thing. So anyway, if people want to check it out, it's a great documentary.
Good. Well, yeah, go check that out on Tubi or any of those other kind of free sites that have ads. And go check out MrSkin.com. Mr. Skin, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Eddie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. This was fun, interesting, perverted. It was all the above. I love it.
All wrapped in one.
Yeah, that's it, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will see you all on Monday.